Lioness in Heels, a pro-women movement in the Northwest, will lead a 15-minute silent march through the streets of Vryburg tomorrow to shine a spotlight on gender-based violence and femicide. The march will be followed by an empowerment gathering where up to 10 local women-owned businesses will be given the opportunity to showcase their products and services to potential customers at no cost. According to Lioness in Heels Executive Director Tlhompho Mekgwe, the timing of the silent march is intentional as the festive season is a period when GBVF cases are known to increase. Mekgwe joins us now for more. Mekgwe, thank you so much for joining us this morning and having this very important discussion. Maybe just talk to us with regards to the objectives of this 15-minute silent march.
Good morning to you and the viewers. So the whole point of the 15-minute is to dedicate some time and some effort to remembering and also commemorating the survivors as well as victims of gender-based violence. This is to create awareness and to also have our voices heard in terms of the support that is needed for us to not find ourselves being gender-based violence victims as women in rural areas.
And it's very important that you mention women in rural areas because we'd want to know just how much economic emancipation strategies can be put together specifically for women in rural areas to effectively reduce their vulnerability to GBVF, like you say, and just considering the unique socio-cultural dynamics of women that live within those communities.
Yeah, no, definitely. You know, there's no way we can speak of economic emancipation for women without us not also mentioning the fact that we have been previously disadvantaged as Black women, and it continues to happen in our traditions, in our norms, in our cultures. So it's about time that women are also given the stance or chance to actually utilize their voices and actually maximize the potential that they have to participate in the economy of this country. This might include us actually changing our perception on how to fight poverty. I mean, the strategies on how to fight poverty is closely related to job creation and so forth. However, we really think outside the box, which would be to actually own businesses, run businesses, you know, be in corporate spaces where women are leaders, and actually give them the necessary support as well. So that is why we said we are not just going to march, we are going to support women-owned businesses because they too deserve a space in our economy.
And you mentioned previously disadvantaged and how this really needs to be identified in all our conversations. How do you think the intersectionality of race, rurality, as well as economic status just shapes the experiences of women that are facing GBVF?
The truth of the matter is there is no race, there is no amount of money, and I keep saying this, that can actually save us from gender-based violence. We have seen gender-based violence creep into people that fall under different tax brackets. And this is because we are not holding the perpetrators accountable. They just run from one victim to the next. However, in rural areas, we are not self-aware. We also do not understand what gender-based violence and femicide really is. We are unable to identify abuse as abuse because certain things have been normalized in our communities. And that's where we should, in fact, actually start. So we experience it differently because at times we do not label abuse as abuse. And that is what we are trying to do. We are trying to educate women and to have them realize there are different kinds of gender-based violence abuses, and it's about time they became aware. It's about time they stood firm against it.
You speak about us not being aware, especially people that live within the rural areas, of what exactly gender-based violence is. How do you think traditional beliefs and practices can be challenged in order for us to foster a cultural shift towards a zero tolerance for GBVF?
Our traditional leaders need to really work with initiatives such as Lioness and Hills, and I think it's about time they became more receptive in order for us to actually educate and lead the communities into the right paths. There are certain roles, there are certain rules within, for instance, a traditional marriage that really suppress the rights of women. And it's about time it is said that it needs to stop. It's about time that these conversations are had with traditional healers and they too are educated about how to support victims of gender-based violence, how to go about also holding perpetrators accountable, not just that, but sort of converting a perpetrator into being a gender-based violence, activist themselves. And I'm saying this intentionally because even our justice system fails us. Our perpetrators go in jail for a day and they are out the next day. And from then on, even if the victim is to, say, cut all ties with the perpetrator then just finds the next victim. So we have not solved the problem. There needs to be a more intense approach to this in terms of holding perpetrators accountable, get into the root problem and get into the root cause of why these perpetrators behave the way that they do against women.
Most certainly. So tomorrow after your march, you are allowing 10 local women-owned businesses to be able to showcase their services and products. What role do you believe the corporate and private sector needs to play in creating sustainable economic opportunities for women in rural areas?
I think the private sector in particular really needs to invest more in their corporate social investment initiatives. Let them engage with communities such as Lioness and Hills, find a way to uplift and to create opportunities for locally owned SMMEs. I do see certain organizations in our town that are trying to uplift SMMEs in general. And it's a good move. It's a good move. We are slowly getting there. We just need the voice to get louder and reach further so that women also know that they can play a role in our local economic development.
Are we winning in changing the perception, especially in men who are perpetrators of gender-based violence?
I personally don't think we are winning as much as we should. I've seen a cycle where perpetrators are held accountable, but nothing changes. They just change their victims. And I solely believe there's something deeper there. I solely believe there is definitely a loophole. And we can't just treat crime as... We can't have a blanket approach to crime because then we are not rehabilitating them. So I think it's time where, mental health issues and all these other things that factor into the cause of gender-based violence are addressed, not just addressed, but consistently worked towards.
And one of the considerations that your organization has is the fact that a lot of GBV cases rise, particularly during the festive season. What community-based interventions do you think need to be implemented in order to provide immediate safety and just that long-term support for vulnerable women?
Substances are a problem in our country. And of course, we know that the festive season, we consume substances sometimes irresponsibly. I think we need to educate people more about what it means to drink responsibly. I think we need to also promote what it means to have festivities in safe environments for women, for children, and for men as well. Remember, there are men that fall victims of gender-based violence as well. So when even with us, with Lioness and Hills, is quite inclusive. It's not just about the women, it's about the men too. They too have a role to play. They too are victims. Now, we need to promote and educate people how to create safer environments for themselves and how to drink responsibly so that we don't find ourselves in situations where gender-based violence takes over.
And lastly, just on how you think we can elevate the narratives and the stories of the rural women and men that are affected by GBVF. How can these be amplified to ensure that their underrepresented voices influence national discourse as well as policy making?
I think the 16 days of activism don't need to end with the 16 days, first of all. And we need more sustainable initiatives. We don't need 15-minute marches only. We are aware that gender-based violence has been declared a national disaster. What now? What is it that we are doing to fight that? Can we see more initiatives on the ground that really put us in a better place to fight this thing? And by this, I mean economic development initiatives. I am actually quite pleased that the Department of Economic Development in the province has reached out to say they are going to sponsor more stalls. So this means we've got more space for more businesses to showcase their work. That is the kind of things that we need, because our slogan says, we're going to change the world one sale at a time. So at times you underestimate a sale, but it says to a woman, a business-owned woman, you can do it. You can be independent economically too.
Tlhompho, these community-based initiatives are certainly quite imperative in ensuring that women find their feet, especially during economic challenges. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us this morning. That is the Executive Director of Lioness in Heels, Tlhompho Mekgwe, speaking to us about that 15-minute silent march that will be held tomorrow in the Northwest in Vryburg.